Jamie and I first met when a mutual friend, Mike Valiant, was organizing a semi-expedition to go see an original Mason-Dixon marker. Mike Valiant has a fondness for tackling difficult literature, so we were reading Thomas Pynchon's Mason and Dixon.
Yeah. We're into this, we're reading Mason and Dixon, and we're right near where the original survey was done, and you do some digging, and it turns out that while some of the markers are in easily accessible places and might have even a plaque next to them, some of them are just sort of out in the middle of nowhere. And if the beauty of the internet is you can find out almost anything. And so there were some descriptions of where we could go find one not too far from here. It was up outside of Millington, I think.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, really?
So that's how we met. On an adventure. And then I was not on the committee that chose Jim, but when I heard about it, I was pretty excited because I'd gotten to know him over the last few years after our adventure, and it's part of what I'm interested in. I'm a zooplankton ecologist, and I'm interested in what the individual species are, and why there are those individual species and what they're doing. So I'm really interested in the ecology of what these microscopic animals that are not growing up to be anything else, what they're doing in the bay, and understanding when they're there, why they're not other places is a big part of my work. And I think what the Maryland Biodiversity Project does provides an opportunity to do that on a really grand scale with lots of new observers, not necessarily people who are trained and everyday scientists.
Yeah, I think that's one of our big strong points is that we can actually get everyday people excited about, things like copepods that Jamie's studying, and actually kind of enlighten our community about these organisms that generally don't get any press.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to make people excited about copepods. You think about the Baltimore oriole and the Bullock's oriole, that in the late 70s they thought eventually they were the same species, so they merged them into one species, and then when the genetics and DNA stuff started really coming on strong, bam, they split them back again.
Right.
So and that's happening all across the board from our top organisms down to, I guess now what.
Sometimes we think of ecological niches as being really big, but there may be some small ecological niche filled by the Bullock's oriole and the Baltimore oriole that if one disappeared, it could have reverberations throughout the whole food web and throughout the whole ecosystem.
So it also brings into discussion what really is a species.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's
a real big question.
You're right. Our whole taxonomic philosophy is being challenged. My family's always embraced nature. My dad was a birder. My grandfather, his father was a birder. My mom's father, grew up and lived on LeCount Creek, in Dorchester County. And so, it was all, the environment was always embraced. Bill Hubick, my partner at MBP, we were walking in a really cool area outside of Annapolis called Severn Run, and we took a picture of this beautiful flower, and I got home and downloaded my photos and we're trying to identify everything I took pictures of, and realized that Maryland didn't have a comprehensive plant list, and that upset me. And I said, it really stinks that there isn't a place where people can go and just see lists of what is found in Maryland. We actually vacuum up a lot of data that's already existing. So if it's published in a peer-reviewed journal, we consider that fair game.
Yeah.
So we have lots of experts in their fields that have come on board. We couldn't do this without a bevy of volunteers. So we want people to take photographs of what they see out and about. And we put their photograph and record into the database. So,
do you ever want to write a book about this?
Sure.
I mean, do you feel like
it's all you need is time.
Yeah, I know.